Can we put hands together for Me, please? How are you doing? Okay, come and have a chat. So, Me, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. And Me, we're going to have a little bit of chat about some of the deals you've done and using other people's money, if that's okay. So, tell us a little bit about your background, first of all, please, Me.
I started my career in investment banking. So first a few years, actually in 2006, for about 3 years, I looked at the worst part of the market. That's when all the subprime crisis happened, and my job was basically looking at all the bonds that there is in the financial market that's backed by all these mortgages.
Right, so probably the worst thing you could be doing, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
So if there's anything, I think I'm just really acutely aware of the risk.
Yes, yeah. In fact, a lot of people in banking don't like using any money when they invest because of the risk that they're associated with it. So I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. So given that, you've come quite a long way, really, haven't you?
Yeah, I've then actually, because of the banking job, I went to Shanghai. And when I was in Shanghai, I got really bored of banking. And so I started my own business.
Yep.
That was a fashion agency that brings foreign independent designers into China. So going from banking to that, it really taught me a lot about running your own business, think for yourself, like market things, negotiating. So I guess that brought a different set of skills to myself.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously you're quite entrepreneurial then, because you've done that. And then what was it that got you interested in getting into property?
So I love running a business. I love looking at all the numbers, how everything add up, but I absolutely hated the seasonality of fashion.
Yeah.
Property itself makes a lot of sense to me because everything I've done at the beginning of my career. So
yeah.
It naturally brought me back here, and actually my flatmate in China, who was also in banking, his mom was in Mastermind 16.
Yes.
So he told me about Mastermind. I read your book. So I decided, I wanted to come back to UK, be with my family, focus on property, so I should start this program. So, and actually one thing is that I think his mom was doing better than him.
Yeah. So hang on, he's an investment banker.
Yeah.
Probably earning a fairly good salary.
Not bad.
And his mum, who'd done Mastermind, was doing better than him.
Yeah. Who didn't speak English as a first language.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Yeah, her English is not great, is it? Yeah. So she's done really well. And it took a bit of time, to be fair, didn't it? Because actually part of the Chinese culture is, Chinese people, I'm generalizing here, but my understanding is that the Chinese really don't like talking about money. Yeah. Really don't like using other people's money. And so it took her a while to really get that concept. But she's kind of got it, and she's persevered, and she's done really well. And so that's kind of interesting that she was doing better than her son, who's an investment banker. Interesting. Okay.
So then, long story short, I started doing Mastermind 23, and half a year later, I guess it didn't look too bad. So he decided, for various other reasons as well, that he's going to quit his job, come back and start Mastermind 24. With his best friend, which are both my joint venture partners. Yes.
So his mum had done Mastermind years ago. So he told you about it. You thought, right, I'm going to do this. You came on and you were doing quite well. So you thought, right, I'm not going to do investment bank. I'm going to come and do it as well.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm no pressure then, no pressure. Okay. So the people you know already. Now, how important is that, do you think, when you're working with other people in a joint venture, that you know them and trust them? How important is that, do you think?
I think it's very important. I've never had a business partner before. When I was running the fashion business, there were people approaching me as being business partners, but it's quite difficult to take it off the ground.
Yeah.
With Wen and Yuxing, I think, it's quite obvious we start off being friends, so we have very similar value.
Yeah.
So I think value itself is something that you can't really change.
No.
So, so it makes huge difference.
So they're people who you've known before, and the trust is there, similar values, and then you kind of work together. Okay, great. So I think we're going to talk about a deal. Just talk us through this particular deal, can you?
There are actually a few deals here. Just maybe I start with the first one. So the first one I actually started looking at, so I'm based in London, but I decided because of Brexit, the whole environment, and the yield, look at the amount of yield return investment everyone makes in Mastermind. Yeah. London just does not look cool. So I've done my research. I locked my focus on Salford, which is an area close to Manchester. I decided that's an area with good potential for growth as well as rental income. So the first deal, because I didn't understand the market, I found a sourcing company that does sourcing as well as renovation.
Yep.
They actually have done a pretty bad job in terms of keeping me informed and getting the project done on time. So I've made a lot of mistakes on that one, but it still turned out to be a very good deal because the purchasing price was relatively low compared to now. And so gaining that experience, my second deal also in Salford, because it was so competitive, I had to actually go buy 2 houses all at the same time. I learned from the first deal, I'd rather just buy new builds, which the numbers worked out quite well. As you can see on the screen, the return on investment actually works out better than the first deal. Even the purchasing price is much higher.
So because it's a new build, less work to do. And
they're ready to go.
Exactly,
I've done a lot of research about the area. I know who's the target tenant, so they were tenanted quite quickly. So,
and it's a real growing area, isn't it? Really booming area.
Yes. I mean, is any other people here doing Salford? Would you put your hand up?
Yeah. A few other people.
So you all know what it feels like to go on the open market and find a deal in Salford. Any house that comes on within about a day, there are 10 people putting offers on above asking price. So lots of mistakes made throughout the whole process, and then my business partner came in, taking the mistakes I made, and then we went on, put our money together. We have a bit of scale, so we went to, through a personal contact of mine who does flipping. We managed to make an offer on 3 houses in one go, and really gain his trust. That's basically the deal 3.
Yeah, okay. And trust is a big thing that's coming up all the time, isn't it? And all the relationships we have in property, you've got to have trust with the seller, trust your partners. If you're working with agents, build trust and credibility with them. So how have you gone about building that trust, especially with people who you haven't maybe known before?
With this vendor, he's a quite big developer, so he doesn't really have a lot of time, but he's very switched on, very clever. I think he was probably drawn to us because we're quite straight talking, but we really know our numbers. And even though originally the deal should be done within 3 weeks, actually, we're going to do a cash deal, I managed to convince him that we're going to try to get mortgage. Even though mortgage didn't come through and the solicitor we had wasn't being very helpful, I still managed to make sure that the completion date met the date that he needed. Which meant we actually have to end up buying it with cash anyway. So I think that itself really gained his trust that, I stuck to my words, I made it happen.
Okay. And that's really important, isn't it? Saying what you're going to do and doing it. Okay.
Which means that now he's bringing to us like a portfolio of over 10 off-market deals that we're going through at the moment.
So obviously, you're buying outside of your area, so you've tapped into people at first to help you out, and that's been a learning experience, obviously. Are you, and your joint venture partner, so you're doing some of the on-the-ground sourcing, and they're putting some of the money in, are they? Is that the idea?
So there are 3 of us. One is stronger with money. One's stronger with mistakes, and the other one's somewhere in between. So, and our wealth dynamic profile really complement each other as well. So we really go around the circle. I'm the creator, and then you have Yuxin, who's more of a supporter, and Wayne's a trader. But we're both towards the kind of number side. So.
Okay.
So that works well.
And so on these deals, are they? Because one thing you can do is you can use your own funds if you have your own funds. You can go and borrow private funds from people. You can use joint ventures. But what quite a few of our masterminders do is they'll link in with other masterminders who are finding deals. They'll do a 50-50 JV, but the money's not theirs. They borrowed it from someone else at 5 or 6% interest rate. So actually you can get, if you can find money, you can find someone else who's got deals, you can come in, do a joint venture, and kind of sit in the middle, which is quite a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I think being part of Mastermind really facilitated that. First of all, when we were going thinking if worst comes, if we were going to get mortgage, Yuxin, one of my business partners, was still going to lend me 60K until we'll be able to remortgage it at some point in the future. So that's 60K is over there, and he's comfortable doing that because it's a quite common thing in Mastermind. And then when it comes to actually we can't even get the mortgage, we have to buy it with cash. I'm kind of I have no idea how to go about it. So I post a message on Facebook. Our mastermind group, saying literally like 2 nights before we have to complete on the transaction, like anyone interested in 100K, lending 100K for 3 months, 1% per month, etc. And then next day, we're doing Mastermind Extra, and a lot of my classmates come up to me like, "Have you spoken to Luke?" Luke Spike. Luke Spike is actually another classmate in Mastermind. I went up to him from I think the first month, say, "Could you be my mentor?" Because I think what he does, co-living, is some kind of concept I really aspire to, and I love his passion in
Yeah.
whatever he does.
He's done really well, hasn't he?
It's very inspiring. He really taught me to stay focused and do one thing. But I've never, so he knows what I'm up to because every week we have a call.
Yeah.
But I have never thought about asking for money. I know you tell people, like tell everyone to ask for money.
I know, I just don't
Sorry.
listen.
So as I went up to him, I told him this, and he's like, yeah, sure, let me speak to my trustee of the SAS, and basically within a week the money's in place.
So a couple of really interesting points there. First of all, that sometimes there are people really close to us who we know who might have money, but we just don't think about asking them. And that's why what we're going to do next is going to help us with that. And that happens a lot, so it's not just you. But also within, and again, it comes back to this word trust, doesn't it? Within Mastermind, because everyone knows each other, if anyone was to take advantage of anyone, everyone would find out about it. So there's an extra level of trust.
Yeah.
You know, there are people with funds, aren't there? And as long as they see it's a good deal, and you know, you see how they can get the money back and how they can make a good return, there are funds available, aren't there?
Yeah, I think two things have been really helpful. First is that, you know, whenever I had a problem with the first project, my understanding and development in Salford, I've been sharing it with people in the class.
Yeah.
So they know what I know. They know that
Yeah.
I can do it. And I think second thing is, you know, presenting information to people is something we also learn. So, you know, I can very quickly put together the deal, give it to Luke, even though he already had some background, so he can make a decision very quickly.
Yeah. And I think that's important. So it's a bit like we say, letting all your friends know by posting on Facebook, pictures of your development or your keys of your new property and things. And it's just reassuring people go along. So when you do need funds to speak to them, it's not a surprise that you're doing property. They've kind of observed what you're doing and hopefully they realise you know what you're doing at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent, great. So Mi, if you had any final comments to give people in the room specifically about raising funds or joint ventures, what might that be?
I think have multiple options is one thing. Like, you know, before Luke, I had an investor from China who saw my posting about properties, and she was very keen to invest, but the money couldn't come.
So you did what we said, posted on Facebook, and you mean someone actually came forward with some money?
Well, actually, I then asked her, so do you want to lend the money? And she's like, yeah, sure. It was like very easy. I don't know her so well, but she knows what I'm up to.
Right.
But
she knows what you're doing because you're posting and sharing, etc. Okay,
Yeah.
right, good. That kind of works, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, and you know, for Chinese investors, like a return of over 20% is unbelievable compared to Chinese market. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I think having multiple options, you know, that fell through, but Luke came in. I think second thing is, in terms of joint venture, you know, we always have disagreements as well. You know, all three of us have. I think we're smart in our own ways, and so which means, you know, you have a lot of structured arguments. So you need to be able to kind of see from the other person's perspective, but also be ready to walk away as well.
Yeah, because sometimes it might. So at lunch we had some question asked, and someone said, "Oh, I don't want to become a motivated buyer." And that sometimes happens when someone's so keen to do a deal, they get a bit blinded by it.
Yeah.
And actually, if it doesn't work for you or for seller, there are so many deals out there, just walk away from it if it doesn't work. You know. Now, be persistent, put it in the follow-up box, because if it doesn't work as it is, the circumstances might change in the future. But if it doesn't work now, it doesn't work. So don't be scared to walk away.
If I have one last thing I think is the most valuable is, a lot of people probably have done Mastermind Accelerator over here. I did mine in April when, you know, after I started the first session, which meant like there were about 100 strategies. They all seemed so attractive, and I wanted to do everything. So for about 6 months, I looked at everything. I stacked all the numbers. I learned a lot, but I've done no deal. So actually, all the 6 houses that's listed here were done like, you know, in the last 6 months of Mastermind.
Yeah.
So that's when Luke also reminded me a lot, stay focused, pick one thing, you know, really just drill at it. So our idea right now is very simple. We're just going to focus on keep on buying HMOs because we have the power team set up locally. We're actually going to move over there and stay there for 2 months to be on the ground and be committed to it, just focus on it.
Fantastic. Excellent. So focus, always have a backup plan in place. And that's so important. I've seen so many people lost deals because they have someone who can lend money or will lend money, but maybe their funds are tied up or they're doing a remortgage, doesn't come out in time. So having that exit alternative finance is really, really wise. That's great. Mi, thanks so much for sharing. It's a really inspirational story. Let's give Mi a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's Simon here. I just want to thank you for taking the time to watch this inspirational case study. I'm sure you got a huge amount out of it. And if you want to learn more about how you can use this incredible strategy, I've prepared 2-hour on-demand online training for you completely free of charge, teach you what you need to know to be a successful HMO investor and landlord. All you have to do is look in the description below this video, click on the link and register to get access to that free training. I suggest you do it right now.